Hey, Amy Hill here with Representative Bill Taylor with Aiken District, House District 86. I am here with him tonight so that he can talk to us about a bundle of legislation that he looked at all of his partners in the legislative arena and pulled some of it together. Bill, tell us what the pushback agenda is and how it came about.
Well, it was very organic on my part. In January, early February, I started looking at bills that I knew I liked. A lot of pre-filed bills in December, and they had to meet the criteria of standing up for South Carolinians, pushing back on the federal government, pushing back on South Carolina government as well, out of the COVID stuff. And I did a lot of searching, and I had some legislative counsel help me. And we found the criteria of the bills, and we started to categorize them. Believe it or not, it took like much of a week to figure them all out, because there's 500 pre-filed bills and they're tucked around all over. Now, I knew the kind of guys and gals that would file those bills, so I looked there first and put it together. And it became, in February, Super Bowl weekend, it became the pushback agenda, and it was in a newsletter of mine. And then I took something that looked like this to the Republican caucus at the State House on Tuesday at lunch, and I presented it to them, and they were like, oh. But let me explain, it's not Bill Taylor's pushback agenda. There are a number of conservative legislators who are truly public servants, who want to do the right thing. These were their independent bills. They weren't working together, except a couple of guys working together, or guys and gals and all that, and putting them together. They really get the credit, because on this, the Speaker Lucas has some bills in here, and so does the Speaker Pro Tem, other legislative leaders, but so just as the rank and file. Folks from the upstate and the low country and all of that. So it's pretty neat. I was the guy who sort of just put the marketing together. And I claim I'm an old TV news guy and a marketing guy, so someone had to put the agenda together so not only the legislators could understand it, what was there, but also, and they could then file onto bills that they weren't on. And a lot of them used this as a scorecard. They went back to the House and went, am I on this bill? Am I on that bill? And they went and read the bill and decided if they would co-sponsor. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
But also, I guess I didn't fully appreciate how it would take off all over the state.
Yes. And
now there's groups all over the state, from Rock Hill and the Low Country, and that here in Aiken, they have the Pushback Alliance, mind you. A large group. I spoke to them. Their first meeting was 30 people. Second meeting was like 60. The third meeting I spoke to was 120.
120, yeah.
So, I mean, it's pretty cool, and it's given them a reason to rally around some things. And then, when you see the scorecard, you can kind of visually say, yeah, I'm for that or against that or whatever.
And so they can contact their legislators and let them know, too.
Absolutely, and that's an important part of this, is to have citizens. And I always tell people, don't yell at your legislators. That doesn't do any good.
No, it doesn't.
But and you know so well from the Convention of States how to behave with legislators. Be respectful.
Right.
And present your case and get their encourage them and get their support. And we can't all as legislators know everything about everything. We can't do that. Right. So we need people to tell us about stuff, and then we do our own research. So that's the genesis of all of this. And I must tell you, my wife gets credit for making the brochures
design.
And the design and all of this
Donna.
thing. And we both kind of smiled, because we actually didn't know it would take off like it did. But I'm glad it did.
I am too. I'm glad it did, and I'm so glad that everybody, it's giving recognition, because people around the state are kind of taking note. So you've broken it down into what's passed.
Yeah.
And even categorized it by federal pushback.
Well, there's definitely pushback to the federal government, right?
Yes.
Of course there is. And but on this up here, people say you don't do enough. I agree. If I had my way, the legislature would do more things faster and all of that. But it's why don't you run it like a business? And I said, well, can I give you 170 members of a board of directors with no CEO? and see how that works out for you.
Right.
And so it takes time, too long time. But, you know, on what was signed into law this year, I mean, certainly the pushback on the Biden administration on the abortion, their push on abortion, the heartbeat bill, the REACH Act, which calls for the universities and colleges to teach the founding documents, and they are doing that. How about the gun control issues? You know, the Second Amendment sanctuary state. That was pretty good. And not restraining edicts. How about the on COVID? All importantly, we gave our businesses that liability safe harbor for COVID, because you can't operate businesses and manufacturing if someone's going to keep suing you because I got COVID in your place. You know, come on. So those are some big ones that
we
passed.
Can't keep them closed.
But there's a whole bunch that the House passed, I say proudly, that are sit over in the Senate, and they need to be, I call it, these are passed by the House, they need more pushing.
Right.
And limiting the powers of the federal government, the Article 5 Convention of States.
Yes.
Yeah, it's taken 7 years, and you absolutely were a warrior in that. It's in the Senate, and the prognosis of that is pretty darn good. So we're very pleased with that.
Yeah.
We have the constitutional carry on gun control, you know, for constitutional carry, open carry, if you will. That's over in the Senate, that bill. We have election reform bills. This House did some serious election reform bills. We're not finished with that. Legislative oversight is digging into that just this past week. And there's going to be more bills coming out, and there's more bills pending in that whole area, because election integrity is at, you know, at the top of the list.
Yes.
And also, we passed the South Carolina Religious Freedom Act. It's over in the Senate. Look, during a pandemic, we don't close houses of worship.
Right.
You don't do it.
We're
not California. So that was a good one. And we also had a bill that limited the governor's powers during an emergency. A lot of people told us that's not right for one guy to have that. I think Governor McMaster did a pretty good job.
Yeah, he did. It's a lot of pressure.
He was light-handed on it all, but we need to be there to have legislative checks and balances.
Right.
So all of that stuff was either passed, signed into law, or it's pending in the Senate. Hello, senators.
Yes.
Get on board here. There's a bunch more that is here. I can't talk about every bill, but it's long. But there's just like keep 9 justices on the Supreme Court, nullifying illegal presidential executive orders, reaffirming the 10th Amendment. That's one of my bills. One of the most important bills is this one here, and see, it's got a smiley face on it, and it's called Critical Race Theory, and it's actually called the South Carolina Academic Integrity Act that prohibits K-12 schools from introducing the critical race theory curriculum
or any part of it,
and the 1619 project. So
good.
I sponsored that bill. It was filed right near the end of the session, and I predict to you it has 31 sponsors. It's going to be at the top of the agenda come January.
That is good news.
Yeah, no, it's very good news. Yeah. So those are some, and there's a bunch of more election reform bills on here, but the credit goes to all of these legislators, not me. There's just lots of different names on here. So
well, you too.
Well, I got a few.
Yeah, you got a few.
I think Article 5 Convention of States.
And the marketing is brilliant.
Yeah, well, it did work out.
Yeah.
My wife's slogan on the back, you can read it to them.
Yes, if you're not standing up for what's right, you're part of the problem.
Yeah, isn't that right? So, you know, my encouragement, of course, to folks is be active.
Right.
Don't be, I mean, the worst thing you can possibly do today is to be quiet.
Couch complaining is what I call
Couch complaining, or even a little keyboard bravery, writing capital letters.
They don't do enough.
And Facebooking and all that. That doesn't convince anybody. Talk to your legislator. Have a plan. Use this if you want. Use other things. There may be other bills out there that I'm unaware of. I keep telling my colleagues now.
To tell you.
No, my colleagues now know they want to be on the pushback agenda.
Yes.
So I had one of them write me the other day, and I said, well, I can't get it on there now, but we'll put it out in the next version. Anyway, okay, I'm good with that. So that's the story of the Pushback agenda.
Where can they find it? Your website?
Oh, yeah, I of course have newsletters I send out, and you're welcome to sign up to my newsletter.
No matter what county you're in?
No, the newsletter has like about 10,000 people on it. It goes all over the state.
Right.
And frankly, all over the country. It's amazing to me. It took on a life of its own over the years. And I talk about it a lot in there, but I also have this on my website. So that's TaylorSCHouse.com. It's easy. You can sign up for my newsletters there as well. Mm-hmm. But you know, we do a lot of things in the legislature, and important things, you know, but pulling all of this stuff together,
it gets focus.
It gets real focused.
Yes,
and so I'll tell a story, and I hope if Jay Lucas sees this, Speaker Lucas, he doesn't get mad at me in this, but he says, Bill, you know, at first I wasn't so sure if everybody had liked this idea, you know, because when one guy creates it, it's like, what do you do? So now he says, Bill, he says, what's the latest on that? Send it to me. He says, because wherever I go,
they want to know.
He has it in his pocket, and he brings it up and he talks about it. And I think, isn't that great?
Yeah.
Because it's not my agenda; it becomes everybody's agenda. And
if
you're a conservative, well, it's not the Democrats' agenda. As a matter of fact, I gave this to a couple of Democrats recently, and I said, I know y'all been talking about me. I said, so here, you want to have the real facts? There they are. He says, oh, this will be fodder for next January. And I said, good luck with that. Because we're rolling.
Yes.
You know, we have 2/3 of the legislature is Republican. Now, not all Republicans are conservative, but I think this is an agenda that most Republicans, if not all, can get behind.
Get on, yeah.
And this is what constituents want. You know, critical race theory, 85% of the people polled in South Carolina said, kill that.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty easy.
Yeah, that's an easy decision for you to make if 85% is saying kill it.
Right.
So one other thing that I wanted you to talk about real briefly tonight is, and I got the idea from the Greenville County Chair. Her name is Jennifer Black. She's brilliant for doing it. But she talked about with a legislator on how bills are introduced into the South Carolina legislature and how it progresses through, like if it's medical, what committees does it go through, where can it get stuck, and then how it goes from the House and the Senate or the Senate to the House. So if you could tell everybody just a little bit about how that happens so they'll be familiar. And
well, what I'd love to do is to right now is just reach in my pocket and pull out that old 1970s cartoon Schoolhouse Rocks.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm a bill, and I am a bill, but I'm a bill, and here's how I go up the steps to the Capitol and we work just the same way as Congress would work. Any legislator can introduce a bill. Mm-hmm. Now, whether that bill ever sees the light of day other than being filed and online is another story. But if they advocate for it, if there's momentum for it, if there's lots of sponsors, that bill will be assigned to a committee in the House. It works the same way in the Senate, so I won't duplicate. You file a bill, it's read across the desk, as they say, and then referred to a committee. Education, Ways and Means, Judiciary, Agriculture. And you know, then you've got to get that committee chairman to take the bill up and have hearings. One thing about the South Carolina General Assembly, we are very open and transparent. Mm-hmm. Every bill gets hearings. Anybody can come and testify. Right. I mean, anybody. And I've chaired many a meeting. I've been chairman of higher education for 6 years, and I've chaired many an ad hoc meeting. I've had them go on for 3 and 4 hours because you want everybody gets an opportunity. If there's going to be a lot of people, we sometimes put it like 5 minutes, you know, or something.
Right.
But if not, we want to hear from experts. We want to hear from citizens. We want to hear their stories. So once that goes through that process of the open hearing, then if it's passed out, it goes to a full committee. The full committee doesn't take testimony typically. They debate it and then would pass it out and then send it to the House floor.
Right.
On the House floor, it's on the calendar. It either is on the uncontested or the contested calendar. Different rules apply. But then we have that debate, and it's either voted up or down. Once it's voted up or down, then it's on 2 different votes. Then it's sent to the Senate. And it all starts over.
Starts over.
Right. And then, you know, if the Senate, say, on this particular bill, would take it through the process, but they amend it, so it has to come back to the House, and we have to review their amendments on the floor. It doesn't go back to committee. You're on the floor. We debate those. We vote on those. We strike them, whatever. Sometimes it goes to a conference committee.
Gotcha.
and then 3 members of each body work it out and come back, and if we all agree, then we vote. Then it's ratified and goes to the governor. So it's a very difficult process. Most bills are never
supposed to be that.
It is
supposed to be that way.
People say, well, I want my bills to go easy.
Right.
And fast. That makes sense to me.
COS.
Yeah, right. 7 years. But it's supposed to be difficult because it would be too easy if it were another way to get bills, passed. One thing we do that's different from Congress, and people don't appreciate this, we have the rule of germaneness. And the rule of germaneness means that we don't have 2,000-page bills that look like a Christmas tree where they put everything you can imagine in on. I'll set this down. If a bill is amended, it has to be germane to that bill. And you'll have a point of order on the floor, and you'll say, Mr. Speaker, point of order, germaneness. And then he has to look at it and look at the law, read all the amendment, and says, sometimes he'll say, I'm sorry, Representative, but that just doesn't pass the test.
Yeah.
And so that means that bills are fairly short. I mean, sometimes they're a page long and 2 pages long, but they're only to one subject. You can't come in here with 10 other subjects and hang it like they do in Congress.
Pork it up.
That is a real problem in Congress.
It really is.
If they just had the rule of germaneness, it would change everything in the legislative body of Congress.
That would be perfect.
And we do it right, and most states do. But that's a little one. I didn't understand that until I got there.
Right.
And I went, oh, well, this is much better. Because you can actually understand what the bill is, and it has to be germane to that.
And it doesn't take forever to read it.
No.
There's no way that Congress can read those bills that are thousands of pages. Well, thank you so much. One more thing.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to follow a bill, any kind, whether it's on the pushback agenda or not, South Carolina has the South Carolina Legislature app.
Yeah, it's the legislature online, even on your computer or on your iPhone. Listen, I spent 7 years passing the FOIA Act, the Freedom of Information Act, and refining that because it needed it. I'm a news guy by heart, so I want transparency. The legislature of South Carolina is hugely transparent, and it's pretty easy to use.
Yes.
And you can see everything on your laptop or on your phone that I'm seeing while I'm on the House floor voting.
Right.
Whether it's the video, the amendments, the bill, everything. Plus, everything else is placed in the back. I mean, you can go to Ways and Means and see every PowerPoint presentation on the budget. All of our committee meetings are online.
It's transparent. You just have to know where to look.
And you also can sign up on the app, and if you like a certain bill,
you can follow it.
You follow it. You just mark it as I follow it, and they'll send you notices about where that bill is, and there's going to be a hearing on it.
And when a new sponsor comes on,
I use it.
Yeah, I do too.
Because I can't track everything, particularly my own bills.
Right.
I want to say, oh, so and so signed on today. Oh, good. And it's just a way to stay alert. So if you're really interested and you're a legislative junkie, we have made it really easy. I'm very proud of the legislature.
Yes.
It wasn't that way when I got there.
Right.
But they've done a great job of upping their game.
They have. Well, thank you, and thank you for everything that you've done to help them up their game.
Yeah, thanks.
I really appreciate it. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me to your lovely home. And
welcome to my backyard.
Yes, beautifully manicured, not like mine. But thank you so much, and hopefully you guys learned a little bit about how things pass through legislature. And again, we're going to put Bill's website and where you can find the pushback agenda on the narrative of this. And you guys have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.